Things they don't tell you about the Cobb short shifter, we have all the answers for you. Stick around. Alright, Netfix fans, are you ready for another episode on the STi build? Season 1, Episode 8, detailed how to install short shifter Cobb and shifter bushings. All right, Netfix fans, are you ready? So first step, we're gonna remove the boot for the e-brake. You can just reach down underneath here and just lift straight up on the, it's kind of got a hard part to it. You need to get that out of the way because there is a Phillips here to remove this top cover, which we believe will allow this piece to come back. So now that I got enough space here, I can access the number 2 Phillips. Okay, so you just need to move this out of the way. There's just these tabs right here, if you can see them. One on each side. If one snagged, I kind of reached in with my finger and I was able to just open it up a little bit like that. Now we could access the Phillips there, and we're gonna undo the 2 Phillips that are in the back console here. Okay, so I've undone the three bolts. The ones in the back are Phillips, but they're also a 10 mil. 2 of those, and then we're just gonna lift up back here, and it just needs to pop out of these 2 tabs, or this one tab. That's where the other screw went. Now we can just put this guy right back up on its back. It's out of our way. All right, I'm just gonna take off the shift knob. There's one 10 mil right in here. 10 mil nut on a stud up in this hole. Go. So just remove that, and then where you can not mar anything, we're gonna go right underneath here. It's hidden. Those pop up. So it just pops up on both sides, and then just kind of wiggle it and pull it out like that. So there's a couple tabs it pushes into, and now this is free. So we're just gonna undo these little flatheads. I guess you can probably push down and just use your fingers. This goes on a stud. Okay, so those 2 little plastic nuts come off, and then we should be able to just take this whole boot up and around everything, like so. Right, so yeah, we just keep on tapping this roll pin out. Right. Stupid little roll pin. I just put a rubber mallet in there so I could hit against there instead of in your transmission and bushings. Okay, so now it's got 2 12 mils. It's just a bolt with a nut. That just holds your shifter onto a linkage. Woo!
this is your release for your reverse. It's got a spring underneath it. We're gonna leave this together for now. All right, so we're going to have to cut this zap strap so the shifter can be separated from the cable. And then if you look down in here, inside there is a snap ring. So you need snap ring pliers to squeeze that snap ring and remove it. Pull out your release cable. So it just has that hole in it for your roll pin. And then in that shifter there's the obligated hole so that you're able to pull that up. And now we just need to pull on the shifter. The snap ring's out. Just like so. You just gotta make sure you have these two bushings in place. I guess we're just gonna transfer everything from the old shifter onto the short shifter. Okay, I'm just gonna pull this O-ring off so we don't damage it. And I think this guy just spreads open. I'm gonna pull this guy off. Since there's lube on all of the old pieces, we'll just put some new synthetic dielectric silicone grease on our parts that we transfer over. I'm just gonna clean all this old blackened grease off. Okay, so I guess I'm just going to put some on the nub here, put a little in here. Now the O-ring sat in this groove and it was towards the top of the shifter. Make sure we clean off this O-ring a little bit and get some fresh lube on it too. Work it around. Make sure we this doesn't need to have any lubricant on it, so we're just gonna clean off the snap ring. And just make sure you don't forget the snap ring. I mean, you can put it on in place too, but we're just gonna open it up and get it over that while it's on the bench. So these bushings, we do not have new ones. So these bushings, I don't know if they need any grease on them, probably not too much. I mean, we'll put a little bit on there. Thin coat, I will put a little bit on here too, because we like it looby, looby dooby doo. I've never been accused of being a dry guy. Just gonna put a little, all it needs is that little layer to allow it to not be metal to metal, gives it a bit of a hydraulic barrier. Oh, that's nice. That's so nice, it's like sugar and spice. Deep fried rice. There's the bolt bushing. Get a little grease on that guy too. Basically like a brick. Now we can just slide this puppy in here. Whoop. Now we need to take off this bottom mount plate, or whatever you want to call it. 2 Phillips screws hold it on. I'm gonna guess we still need this little rubber bushing, or grommet. It's so supple. It's the most supple little grommet I've ever felt. See why you need to take this off. So to access the bolts, they give you a little Allen key in the kit. So we're just gonna pull this shaft right off of here and just, we know where it kind of is sitting right now, so we'll put it back in the same location. So we just pull that baby out. Now we can line up our screws. Shaky McShakerson. It's all about timing the shakes. Dax wants to line that roll pin that attaches to the release cable so that it is horizontal instead, or side to side instead of front to back. So next time, if you want to punch that out, you're not hitting your dash or anything accidentally. And we know that that's side to side and front to back. Line it up with the Cobb. Last but not least, the spring and your release. Doesn't need to go on now, but that's how she's gonna look. So we just cleaned out the pivot of the shifter, and there's another O-ring that goes on the bottom side of your pivot ball. Get some lube on that. It just sits right like this. And then I'll also put some lube down in here. Try and just do an even coat all around the bottom. Don't get too much in the snap ring groove, maybe. Even up here a little bit for installation so it doesn't damage the O-ring. Hail Mary. I'm guessing this goes forward. And we're just gonna try and come down on it as straight as possible. There you go. Just line it up so that it's even. It should go in pretty easily. Now we're just gonna get that snap ring on. You can kind of just probably push down with a screwdriver on it. I was always taught that when you can turn the snap ring like that, then it's in the groove. Okay, so before you do anything with the short shifter, I recommend getting underneath your car. On Dax's car, you can't really get underneath it because you can only fit about 4 fingers underneath it. So thank goodness we have a hoist. You're going to need to, where the cable for your release mechanism comes to the transmission, it has a little actuator arm on it, and it has a hole in the arm and a hole in the transmission. And you can actuate that cable, pull that cable, and then put like the Allen key they gave you in the kit. You can just put the Allen key through both holes, which will give you slack up in the shifter so you can get that roll pin back through without having too much difficulties. Back up again with the hoist, because the hole that the Allen key sits in doesn't give us enough slack. You can kind of see the bottom of the hole in the elongated hole, but not quite. So I'm going to just put a screwdriver and wedge it where the arm is, in between the arm and the transmission. And we'll show you that once I get it done. No words, I have no words. The cable for your release is just a nightmare to try and get into the location you need it to be able to start that roll pin. So we just had to go back up with it and get the actuator to be held so that the cable is just a little bit further, a little more slack than where the holes actually line up. All right, let's try and get the roll pin back in and see how much fun we have. We're gonna put the bolt in before we do our roll pin, just to make it a little stiffer for tapping that roll pin in. For any of you guys out there that are thinking about getting the shifter linkage bushings, they look like to be a nightmare. You're gonna have to remove some cross members and tranny mounts and get your transmission to the passenger side so that you have access to remove bolts. So if you're gonna be removing your transmission, yeah, then sure, it's gonna be not so bad to install. But if you're just wanting to do shifter linkage like we are, or the shifter and possibly the bushings, it's kind of not worth it in our opinion. And the only thing those bushings do is they hold, so where this shifter pivots, where we just put the little plastic ball and snap ring in, it's just those two bushings just hold each side of that pivot. So it's not like it's actually in the shifter itself, it's just kind of the steadiness of the shifter. So we're just gonna wait until Dax does his clutch, or we need to be in there, down in that area for another reason, and then we'll do it then.
12mm.
For shift. Oh, I don't have the clutch in, and I don't need it in. Let's just shake it and bake it, baby.
That spring is going to be annoying.
Okay, I just started the roll pin so that it's through the wall of the inner sleeve there, because it's kind of hard to start it in place. So started her like that. And now I just want to get it so that it's just through the obligated hole. There. Okay, so now we're in that hole. Now we're gonna try and line up the cable from this side. You can kind of look down this here and see where you're at. Okay. You can't see, but you can see if you go into the hole or not. So now basically my pin is actually through the cable and going into the roll pin. So that means everything's basically in line for the most part. So now I'm just going to try and tap it as I come out with my pick. I'm just gonna kind of wiggle it around to make sure it's getting into the hole instead of just pinching it. Looks pretty close. We're almost there. I think it's going through the other side of the, it's a little tight on that inner. All right. We're gonna just go slightly more, just so it's a little bit past flush. There we go. So now the roll pin is going through every single piece. It's just past flush on both sides. We're still jammed up on the bottom there, so we're not gonna be able to use it. Reassemble. Woo-wee. Put it in the air like I just don't care. Do me, do me, do me.
just wrapped up putting the Cobb short shifter onto Dax's STi. She feels good, she's short. Like I mentioned in the video, we didn't get to doing the bushings because they're a nightmare and not worth it unless we're going to be doing a bigger job later. Hopefully this video makes it easier for you to do this at your house. Like we said, you might want to use a hoist or at least put your vehicle on jack stand so you can slide underneath it fairly easily. If this video helped you, subscribe, follow us, like us, comment down below. Thanks for watching.